Good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
Tell me who you are and what you do.
So I'm Malit Chana. I'm representing Finastra. Finastra is a leading provider of software solutions for the financial industry. We cover universal banking, we cover lending, and we cover payments and financial messaging. So the whole purpose of this is we cover financial messaging. In terms of the size of our organization, to put it into context, we clear 70,000 batch transactions a minute. We do 8 million immediate transactions a day. Equates to about 5 trillion in value of cross-border transactions in a day. So that shows you the scale of our operations. And as you can imagine, the reason why I've got a Marco with me actually is
I was
because...
going to ask, and why are you here?
Is because our whole business is centered around payments and security and providing that secure mechanism. And fraud is obviously a key topic. So we cannot play a space in that market without offering a solution around payments and financial messaging and playing a space in that fraud. So again, we have Marco. He can introduce himself afterwards. But to make sure we come to the customers with the most valuable proposition to support their use cases and give them that fighting chance of keeping up with what's going on at the moment, which is rapidly moving. It's changing so fast.
I think you wake up every morning. It's like, okay, so what happened today again?
Of course, that's it. Yeah.
So good morning.
Good morning.
To you too.
Good morning. Hello.
Who you are
Yeah.
and what you do.
Yeah. So my name is Marco Gomez. I represent a company called FraudAverse, which is a German company. We are partnered with Finastra. Very proud of that because we complement one another very strongly as a company. I represent Fraudverse, and we are a real-time fraud prevention solution. We've been in the business of fraud prevention for more than 25 years. And recently, over the last few years, I've been able to build a fully new cloud-based, cloud-native technology, which is a configurable and flexible solution. We're a fintech. We consider ourselves a fintech as well. We have 60 people on board. And yeah, it's a very inspiring event, and it's great to be here because of the fact that fintechs are looking for more configurable, easy access, and flexible solutions, and that's exactly what we're providing. And together with Finastra, we're geared up to be able to support basically all the payment rails, all the payment types, and have a seamless experience where we're able to use the data across all the channels, which is really great.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm thinking you kind of covered already the core value proposition, I think. But what's the main problem which you are solving in the market? I don't know if you want to answer separately or together.
I think as a joint up proposition, what it is, there's three things that we've looked at and we said are important. Actually, there is four, but let's concentrate on the main three. The main three are, number one is this idea of the old way of working, which fintech's saying we don't operate in that way of writing lots and lots of requirements, choosing a vendor, doing a gap analysis, doing a long cycle of implementation and deployment. So they want this, let's call it a proof of concept, the ability to find a solution, test the solution, see how it gives the value of reducing false positives or reducing fraud, and at the same time, operationally test it so you're retrospectively building your target operating model. Okay. And in a very short cycle. That's number one. Number two is future-proofing yourself. About how do you look at what's happening in the future about covering multiple channels plus different payment types, and all these things are coming up about different types of assets. People are talking about tokenization and representation. So how do we make sure that that single solution caters for all of those, but you can step it up as your roadmap to make it consumable? The third piece is that we realize in our market that there's no concept of near real time or batch processing anymore. Everything is real time driven. So that means that whatever solution you choose, you need to make sure that you can respond immediately within milliseconds to give you the right behavioral profile. And I did mention there was a fourth piece, and the fourth piece is about catching the fraud as early as possible in the life cycle. Makes more sense later, not right now. The relevance is that in the future, you have a lot of interconnected interoperability, off-ramping and on-ramping between lots of stable coins, CBDC. Unfortunately, this creates a lot of holes and vulnerabilities. The further the money moves down the chain, the more unlikely you are to recover it. So we want to capture the fraud or prevent the fraud as early as possible in the journey. And again, there's not one solution. This is very important for all the fraud problems within an organization. There are different use cases that need to be solved. We together play a very integral part on the payments fraud behavior to detect that and give the organization the best chance of preventing fraud and giving the customer the best experience. And sorry,
that sounds so comforting and calming. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I think what we are is an AI first company. So our engine is especially equipped to employ AI in the real-time channel and do that instantly. So millisecond response times, and Finastra is giving us the access to data across all the channels so that we can enhance the models that we are building and being able to employ in the channels, so that we can detect fraud and behavioral profiles of customers and payment transactions in real time, which is I think really one of the biggest value adds of the partnership, because otherwise we'd only be a fraud prevention solution.
Yeah.
But Finastra gives us the access to all the rails and all the data in the rails.
That's a beautiful friendship.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I think that's
is.
also, I must ask you what makes you unique, but I guess you covered it already.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
the uniqueness is that we have defined that as an organization, we have partnered with the best in class for fraud detection. And we've understood how the main challenge is about making sure that you can leverage and deploy something is the speed that we have. Plus then also making sure, because AI is nothing without the data. And fraud detection, obviously, across the different channels will give you a much better behavior profile and the ability to reduce, like I said, fraud, false positives. So at the end of the day, all of these things are what we thought about when we think about what that journey looks ahead. So our core value proposition is that we will help someone get to market and test things very fast and put them in a place where they're future-proofed, and also make sure that this concept of real time isn't blocked, because everyone is saying now, especially probably in the Nordics market, is that we would like to offer instant payments, but we have this challenge because actually fraud becomes much more important. So that's how our value proposition comes together, because we've thought about the real scenarios, that the challenges that the banks have, and not just like we have we can do some fraud monitoring. We thought about what it means as a joint up view on making sure that, so unfortunately, if I got to say it, is that we are driven by compliance. Our customers are driven by compliance. The fraudsters, they have no rules. So we need to be a lot more streamlined in our ability to react. And what that means is we have to develop proactive measures, which what we're doing over here, because reactive measures don't work. We have this process 2 weeks to understand actually a type of fraud or a scenario. And within that window, so much could have happened and so much money could be lost. They're not governed by the same things we're governed by.
Such a good point. And I guess the last question is, how do you enjoy it at Stockholm Fintech Week so far?
So
you just arrived, I know.
I'll answer first and then I'm going to leave Marco. But for me, we were here yesterday actually, so I did go to a few events and went to the VIP event as well. And I think this morning, so if I was going to call out what your objectives are, so I think one was to be inspired, the other one's to be provoked, one to be informed and be challenged. So all the people I've spoken to have given me some great food for thought about where their challenges live. For me personally, I think it's very much aligned with when we came in here about what this value proposition was. And we've tested it. We've said, you know what, tell me about what you think's going on. And we've tested it. We said, okay, you know what, we've actually probably hit the nail on the head. That actually these were the challenges, the very important challenges that the fintechs are struggling with. So it just validates our thinking, our strategy about making sure we got the right.
And it's a great feeling, right?
It is, it's great. And we've left with thoughts as well. We left with thoughts about actually we didn't think about certain things. Because fraud is so wide, we've left with actually, you know what, maybe we need to think about how we can address that issue. But we got the brains behind it.
And how about you? How have you enjoyed it so far?
I must say I love the vibe here. It's you can really feel the entrepreneurial vibe. People reaching out to one another, genuine, authentic connections being made. I've been to conferences, all my life basically in financial services, but this really presents a different vibe, which is what I like. The industry is being reshaped as we are speaking, and banks are not able to keep up. And I think that the vibe and the entrepreneurial spirit that make people connect to one another on an event like this is basically enabling technology, because new ideas are being formed here. And I think I've been here 2 hours now in the morning. I have 4 different ideas of things that we should build into our technology that we are able to address. Because people, they don't go to a traditional bank anymore because everything is app-based now.
Yeah.
So things are shaping and reshaping as we go along, and I think it's a great event.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Then less talking, let's go get engaged and start solving.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming here.
Yeah.